Hello. Before I proceed with my presentation, I want to acknowledge that I am presenting on unceded lands of the Cowlitz peoples. I ask you to join me in acknowledging the Cowlitz community, their elders, both past and present, as well as the future generations. So, hi, my name is Brooke, and today I'm going to be exploring the question, how can we communicate the effects of climate change on Earth systems through illustrating and narrating a children's book? So I have executed this through representing 4 Earth systems that are explored in communicating the interactions between the geosphere, atmosphere, hydrosphere, and biosphere, and their implied climate change impacts, and how climate change impacts in turn impacts our natural resources, and this book should dictate where climate action should start in the first place. So in simplifying a series of processes within each system, this book communicates the effects of climate change to the youth, and executed with intentional design to communicate empirical narratives. A vast array of scientific results can be made more engaging for the general audience. Okay, so meet the author. Hi, that's me. My name is Brooke Bauer, and I'm passionate about Earth systems and finding the most effective way to understand them, along with rising understanding about how climate change impacts these systems. So I wrote a children's book as a vehicle for effectively communicating climate change impacts on Earth systems. Before I go over some of the pages of my book, I'm going to pose to you different ways the climate crisis can be and has been framed. Take these statistics gathered from the study at Yale Program for Climate Change Communication. 7 in 10 Americans think global warming is happening. About 1 in 6 Americans think global warming is not happening. Americans who think global warming is happening outnumber those who think it isn't by more than 4-to-1 ratio. That sounds pretty good, right? But in the same study, a result was published posing that 6 in 10 Americans say that they're at least somewhat worried about global warming, while 1 in 5 are very worried about it. This statistic highlights the fact that there's a population of Americans who believe in climate change, but there is a limited extent in which they actually prioritize or place any emotional stress on the issue. This is a different perspective that sheds light on the first statistic. These statistics have a power to be phrased in the context that contradicts each other or complements each other, and provides more insight into current perceptions on climate change as a crisis. This is something I explore within forming a narrative for my book. Going into the role of storytelling in science. In general, storytelling has been a relatively successful mode for communicating knowledge within human history to all demographics. As there are many types of storytelling, there are some that are less effective than others, as knowledge can get skewed and misrepresented within different scopes. Of course, storytelling has little to no place in data collection as of now, but when moved outside of the context and done in the right way, narratives can be advantageous in making the communication of results more engaging and easier for the general audiences to comprehend. Therefore, in narrowing down the scopes for this project, children are the intended audience. The young target audience for this content allows for the narrative to tie fundamental points together in a relatively simple manner. Based on the complex rhetorical discourses and representation of climatic and earth science data, this book's illustrations and narrative simplify the processes down to its simplest components. More broadly, this narrative could be applied as an example for communicating from scientists to the general public. The content of the narrative is structured under the IPCC communication framework and the Oregon Science Standards 5th grade Earth Science core ideas set by Oregon Department of Education. So as I just mentioned, the IPCC is the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, and it states the value of having a good understanding of decision-making contexts are essential to define the type and scale of information on climate change-related risks required from physical climate science and impacts, adaptation, mitigation, and vulnerable assessments. Therefore, it is